Hi, Paul Hefty here. I want to talk about principles of physical training. This is your fitness plans, or what we're going to call our sports performance section. You can see we'll touch on a couple different areas, but then finish up with some workshops for you to help design your sports performance part of your final coaching portfolio. Let's take a look. So with sports performance, you're going to have to apply your fitness plans, your physical training, and then we also want to talk about risk management here a little bit. So you can see a great model is actually Penn State Athletics, their sports performance program, where they have these 7 different areas. You might want to set up your sports performance program using these 7 categories here that we're going to touch on a little bit also. Nutrition is one of the things, again, going back to physical development. If you didn't address that, it's probably a great one to add into physical development plans of your portfolio, and then look at specific to your sport. Just some key pieces here. Most of you know this in kinesiology, but again, there's difference between athletes and just the general public and their nutritional needs. They just need more of everything. So again, it's talking about fueling your body, making sure you and your athletes understand what is quality food, and then how much you should eat is totally individualized on what your goals are. Timing is incredibly important. So again, coaches can play a huge role in this and making this part of your sports performance program. Again, nutrients digest at different rates, so it's important that we understand the timing of it and what we are using for fuel with our athletes. So pre-workout meals and snacks, again, we're talking about making sure this is eaten 2 hours before exercise, and then having some type of energy fuel 1 hour before the actual exercise is going to go on. Things to avoid, obviously, before working out are fiber, fat, and then just make sure you're limiting your protein. Post-exercise eating goals is just to replenish the system and make sure we're stopping further breakdown of the muscles. So within 15 minutes, we need that high glycogen replenishment, quick recovery, and then within 2 hours, trying to get that full meal. Carbohydrates combined with protein just found to be better for recover than any nutrient alone. Supplements is an area you need to address here when you're talking about sports performance, and also as a leader, as a coach, you need to take a position with that just to make sure students aren't taking banned supplements. So what we're talking about here is nutrients supplied to the body for food sources. We're talking about bioavailability. It's just how well something is absorbed and can be used in your tissue. Some are better at it than others. The argument would be, though, that we can use natural foods, natural ways to fuel the body without having to use over-the-counter supplements. Eggs are a great example, for example, of bioavailability and a great protein source. All right, let's get into our physical training. The seasons, obviously, everything's a little different. In season, I would argue you need to start now then with training, break it up into 2 or 3 parts, where there's the early season, for example, with the 2 parts to a peak season, and then we go into our postseason. So let's stop here, start to do a workshop in developing our training plan. Remember to divide it up into the 3 phases, and I would argue in season a minimum of 2 with our early and our peak. We'll look at the next slide where we can start to go over some goals, some core fitness, the frequency, intensity, and then some basic warm-up and cool-down routines. All right, so you can see the template here is your first, your overall fitness plan, where you go, like I said, 3 different seasons. You want to do a TNR for each of those, and then look at, on the left then, your basic fitness goals for each of the parts of the year. Some core activities, you don't have to list them all, but what are the core ones? Some simple frequency, intensity, and then your warm up and cool down, which may be the same during the different parts of the year, but it may be different than any notes. So stop the video and fill this out as we've done, usually working in reverse, doing the illustrations first, and then that can help you establish how you describe your system for each of the parts of the year, and then supporting that with citations or references. Next part here I'm going to go through pretty quick. These are just some things you can reference back to, maybe cite as support of your fitness training plan or your sports performance program. Just remember, fitness for sport is the ability to meet physical demands of your sport to perform at an optimal level. So again, make it unique to your sport. Do your research with that. Remember, fitness is transient, so we've got to use those cycles, and we've got to make sure that we have the athletes at peak condition for major competition. So that's why we have the in-season broken up into early and peak. Some benefits, real simple, is just to improve performance, less fatigue, quicker recovery, and less muscle soreness. Want to make sure that we're doing this again. As we've said, everything is about safety first. So quality sports performance is putting your athletes in a position to be safe, also recover, and then provide self-confidence. That's huge. And then hopefully with great fitness levels, there's more enjoyment in the performance of the sport. Some components of physical fitness. Just these again, there's these energy fitness. There's two different systems. We'll go through and do a template here, but you want to make sure you understand if your program is more anaerobic or aerobic type system from a fitness level. When it gets to muscular fitness, again, we're talking about optimal strength, endurance, speed, power, and flexibility. You as a coach need, again, what is best for the training of your specific sport. A good example of making sure you're addressing the specifics to your sport is muscular strength. It is the maximum amount of force that the muscle can generate in a single effort. So sports such as distance running, like we said, less muscular strength, but wrestling, football, more of that. When we're talking about muscular endurance, it's the ability of the muscle to repeatedly contract or sustain a continuous contraction, usually involving less than a maximum force. So we're talking number of repetitions a person can perform. Push-ups is a good example. Speed, real simply, is just the ability to move the body parts very quickly. So it's a combination of reaction time and movement time. The myth here is that it is just inherited, but it can be improved through proper training and sports performance. Its quickness is often referred to as reaction time. Speed is the movement time. We're talking about muscular power. It's the ability to exert muscular strength quickly. It's strength and speed combined. So this is how you can increase your power, and is actually a key in almost every sport today. Some other muscular fitness terms. Again, we want to address flexibility. It's a range of motion through the joints, and then balance. So we want to look at static and dynamic. So static is stationary, dynamic, moving. And then agility, set, start and stop, change of direction type movement. So now we want to go ahead and pause here and do an assessment. This would be at the beginning of your sports performance piece, where you're going to just go ahead and address your sport, uniqueness of your sport and activity, and just simply put low, medium, high under the different categories across the top, and it can help you decide what your focus is going to be as you start with the design of your system. So once you've done your assessment and you've got the core of your system, let's do the focus to what we're going to do, where we can determine your energy, fitness, and muscular fitness focus, along with what's specific to your sport. Let's take a look. So now after the assessment, you can see we have at the top, you can start to put your focus from an energy fitness focus and a muscular fitness focus. If you're unsure, go back to the previous slides we talked about in the definitions, so that you can be unique to your sport and your needs. A couple design decisions and training principles are these 6 different phases. Again, the choice of the exercise, the order, the intensity, the volume, the frequency, and the length of rest. Remember, rest is part of the workout. So start and finish basics. We want to make sure we're doing a warm-up with everything we're doing. Again, it's more common now to do dynamic stretches, but you can use a combination. And then cool down. You need to have 2 phases there, an aerobic phase and a stretching phase. The rest are just training principles that you can apply as references to your design of your system. So the first one is a specificity principle. We have an overload principle, progression principle, diminishing returns principle, variation principle, reversibility principle, individual difference principle, and last, your moderation principle, slow to fast. Use the 8 principles to design a realistic program, slowly building up again, peaking in your season, and then back down in your postseason. Make sure you're making the training fun. Avoid overtraining. Less is more, and avoid using training as punishment. Again, we want to use that positive reward for effort and also positive discipline if we need to change behaviors. All right, so last workshop, developing your training plan. Let's go back and look through it one more time and make the changes that we need to using the principles and why you use the principles. So here you are. Go back with your previous notes and add in the principal components to it.